Hello and welcome to this web edition of Jaycees TV. I'm Joel Adkins, studio programmer here at Wyandotte Cable and a member of the Wyandotte Jaycees. And today I'm filling in for our ordinary host. I guess I should say our regular host. He's not an ordinary man. Our regular host, Steve Fappas, because he is the subject of our interview today.
Fantastic.
Steve, welcome to the other side of Jaycees TV. And we wanted to do this because you are the 95th president of the state organization.
Yes, sir.
And I want to talk to you about that.
Awesome.
So what is going on at the state level?
So a ton of things are going on. So there's 33 chapters all over Michigan. So I'll kind of give you the base work, right? We got 33 chapters all over Michigan. A lot of them are centralized in the southeastern kind of corner. We're calling it D4. Mm-hmm. So there's like 8 chapters that are within maybe 10, 15 minutes of each other. And all over the state, they run projects similar to the Wyandotte Jaycees do. So you hear on Jaycees TV, we talk a lot about what Wyandotte does. Well, this just expands across the whole state. We have about 1,047 members right now, and that number's growing up. It's been growing up for the last 3 years. So a big goal for me this year is to keep that number going up. We want to keep getting more Jaycees all over JCI, Michigan. And my first big deal is this conference that we're doing in May. It's called a Leadership Conference, and we do 3 of them a year. My first show is May. So super excited about that. I want 400 people there.
Okay.
And we're well on our way to that.
Yeah, I'm going to get more into the conference in a little bit. I've never been to one.
Oh, dude.
You're trying to convince me to come to this
yes,
one.
Yes, I am.
I'm strongly considering it. I've heard some stories.
All right.
We'll
strongly
talk
consider.
About that
Let's just check the box.
I want to ask you, you've done, I think, just about everything in your home chapter of Wyandotte, which I believe is one of the most foremost chapters in the state.
Yes, sir.
What was that decision like for you, coming from your home chapter? You were on the state board last year.
Yeah.
What was your role last year?
So membership vice president.
Okay. And now you've stepped up as president. I have looked at some of even our local chapter schedule.
Yeah.
And even sometimes I look at our chapter president, like that's a lot of work. It's a big commitment. And I imagine it's even more so on the state level. So
yeah.
What was that decision process like?
So it was a lot of getting yelled at by Sara, my wife, who you guys, if you're familiar with the show, you know I have a wife and 2 beautiful kids. It was a lot of feeling guilty about like this whole next year and you know what they're going to have to go through. But they're a great support system, and really she's something I thought about doing is being the president since I joined in 2004. It's like, what do you got to do? So I've spent the last 14 years like learning about what that position's about and getting geared up for it. And you're right, like Wyandotte's busy. We have a project almost every weekend. So now you got 33 chapters that have a project every weekend. How do you get to everything?
Right.
So a big part of the job is the travel. So it's some weekends you go to 3 different chapters. You drive across the state back and forth. A big thing for me is I'm self-employed. So occasionally I can say, Steve, why don't you take the half a day off and get yourself out, you know, go across the state and get somewhere. So I can help travel on the weekdays too, where, you know, not everybody can, but that's part of the sacrifice you make to be able to do it. And as far as the decision of thinking about to run, like a big question is, do I have the support at home? Is my home chapter strong and healthy and able to keep continuing on? Because I won't be a board member there.
Right.
And I'd been a board member for the last 10 or so years straight. So that was kind of a weird thing. Like, and then I did. I learned I had the support of my chapter, the support of my wife, the support of my children. We do a lot of family programming, so they get to come with me on a lot of the travel. So it made that part of the decision really easy. And I just have such a passion for the organization. It was like, as you know, or you may have heard, we're 21 to 40-year-olds. So I'm coming up on 40. This is my last hurrah. So I get to be president, and I just want to knock it out of the park, man.
So I was going to ask you, how much did that inform your decision to run for president, that you're coming up on 40? You're not 40 yet?
I am turned 40 this year.
Oh, you did? Yeah. Okay, so
I get to be president. I get to renew whilst I'm 40, which is like a loophole. So you guys can use the loophole at home, and then I'll age out as I'm 41.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Well, let's take this back full circle then. How did you first get involved with the Wyandotte Jaycees?
That's a very good question, Joel. You are good at this, sir.
I do my homework, man.
Yeah.
I do my homework.
Man. So 2004, I was the assistant manager for Papa John's Pizza here in Wyandotte, which isn't here anymore, if you guys noticed. So
Was that due to you?
I was
that
the
your
assistant
fault?
manager. That was me. No.
Did you tank the place? Is that what you're trying to tell
I'm
us?
not going to say because the owners were good friends at the time, but they couldn't make it.
Okay.
It didn't work out. Papa John's just wasn't a good fit, right? Maybe people wanted that Pizza Hut back that was
There's
there. I
a
don't
lot
know,
of
right?
pizza options in the
Right,
city,
right.
you know?
Yeah, dude. And Todd at Sportsman's, he was like, "Look, get out this big chain."
Yeah.
And I love their pepperoni rolls, so that could have been part of it. I don't know, right? But,
You were dining at the competitor.
yeah, of course, dude.
So you could have eaten for free at your place
Well,
of
I'm not.
employment.
Hey, look. I mean, you might not have noticed, but like I was eating for free there and going to Todd, right?
All right. Well, you may have had a problem, but
Yeah.
that's okay.
I love
back
pizza,
to
man.
how you joined the Jaycees.
So I'm here at the Papa John's, and Gil Mayrand, who
Mm-hmm.
was a past president of Wyandotte Jaycees and still one of our senators and supporters, came in and said, "Oh wow, hey son, noticed you're here running the place."
He stepped out of the 1950s. He's like, "Hey, sonny boy."
Right. See here, we're running this haunted house, see? But he was the chair of the haunted
Yeah.
house and said, "We need discount pizza. So if you'll feed us, I'll give you a tour of the building and show you behind the scenes." So I'll tell you what, man, I'm a big supporter of the community. Let's give you $5 pizzas. And I took off and said, "Hey, you guys run the store for a minute."
Just any schlep who happened to be there.
Well, my brother worked there. He's good for us.
This is starting to make sense why the place went under.
Yeah.
Go on.
But so, anyways, he took me by and showed me this, huge building on Elm Street. I think it was where Family Dollar was or something. I don't remember what was there, but it basically showed me behind the scenes and was telling me about not only do we do this amazing haunted house for the community, but everything we do is geared towards the community. And we tried to build you up as a leader. And I see you're the assistant manager. You could use this stuff in your personal life. And then I promptly ignored him. So I gave him the free pizza. And I said, "Well, it sounds cool." So it's in the back of my mind. And then who was next? So weird story. So I'm still working at Papa John's. And now I'm moving up the ladder, right? I got to go get the payroll checks. They're out in Livonia. So as I'm going there, I meet one of the ladies in the office. She's like, "Hey, I'm a member of the Westland Jaycees." Her name is Debbie Getz, if she watches the show. And she's like, "Man, we are this really cool organization, Steve. I think you'd be a good fit. We're 21 to 40-year-olds trying to make an impact. We do these great haunted houses." And she sold me, said, "Hey, you can go visit all the haunted houses that we do as part of a haunted house hop. You'll get in for free. And the $65 or $70 membership, it was $65 I think at the time, basically is covered by one day of you going to some fun haunted houses."
Right.
So I was like, okay, this has sounded pretty interesting. And then I ignored her too, unfortunately, right? And then fast forward, hang out with my buddy Phil. We're going to the bar, we're having a good time, we're dancing. And one of his friends, she goes, "Hey, I'm Samantha Beatty at the time." She's married now, Samantha McCormick. And she said, "Steve, I think you'd be awesome for the Allen Park Jaycees. And why don't you join our group?" And at the time, she was transitioning to Wyandotte.
Okay.
So the next time I talked to her, she said, "Tell you what, come to our general membership meeting. This is awesome because this is 2004. It's every second Tuesday, 7:30 p.m. at the Copeland Center. And if you watch Jaycees TV, you know we still meet there." So 2000.
Most months.
Yeah,
most
except
months
for
we do.
April and maybe October.
And except when we were at Whiskey's on the Water for
We
a few
tried that.
months,
We
so-
tried that, and I loved Whiskey's. Was a really great location. Just it was hard to have a meeting there. So
It
they
was,
they had
yeah.
the fun. You could order drinks. You had the social atmosphere, but it was just too loud for us to really talk. right?
If I may, Whiskey's. if
And
you're
Josh is a
listening-
member too. He's awesome.
Does Josh, he work at Whiskey's?
I'm pretty sure Josh owns Whiskey's, doesn't he?
Oh, he owns it. Well,
Hey.
hey, look. If he wants the prestige of our meetings being back at Whiskey's, I think we have a pretty
yeah.
obvious solution here. Some free drinks. So would go a long way there, Josh. Okay.
Fantastic.
I wanted to ask you, because I think you told me before, when Gil first approached you, were you even aware of the Wyandotte Jaycees or what the organization did? No, nothing.
Nothing about it. Nothing. And then I ignored them, but I didn't ignore Sam. I came to that meeting and joined and been a member ever since. But had no idea what the chapter did. So it really took 3 different people telling me different parts about the organization for me to finally realize it.
Well,
So-
my coming to the chapter was pretty much, it was a very similar story. I had gone to the haunted houses. I'd heard the term JC since I was a child, but I didn't know what the chapter did at all.
Right.
And it was really through my involvement at Wyandotte Cable. I was first a volunteer, then I started working here. And I was had a little show called The Mud Puppets. You might remember it, Mayor Peterson. And my cousin and I went and did a bit at Bloodbath on Biddle. And that's and actually even prior to that, I was doing some videography, and in 2011, I approached some of the people at the haunted house about potentially doing a video. So there was like a few run-ins there.
Connections with people.
And then I volunteered at Phobia for a couple of nights.
I remember
and
you
then,
there.
Yeah, you were the first person, well, maybe the second, that was really instrumental, because I remember working the haunted house one night, and I had ripped my finger open because I had a ring on for my character, and I bashed it against the wall, and my hand was all bloody. And afterward, I remember you told me, you said, man, like, you belong here. And that really resonated with me. And I didn't join right away, because I'm sort of like a slow joiner.
I was the same.
But then 2015, I think I acted a few nights at Delirium. And then 2016, that's when it was like the floodgates open. I did the documentary. Danny and I became thick as thieves. And then I joined.
Brother Vermin was born,
we ran Kindred the next year, and the rest is history. So I think it's interesting how people get involved. Like, you don't even know what goes on, and then you find out more and more about the organization. And you know, there's a lot of good people in the organization who are from all sorts of walks of life.
That's right.
Which I think is a big strength of the organization, that we have so many different people. You know, we have teachers and nurses and miscreants such as myself.
And myself.
Yeah. So tell me now about the conference.
All right, so I kind of alluded to it earlier, so good question. We have 3 of them, and the way the year kind of works is February we have the year-end conference from the previous year. So obviously they got to get through all their stuff, and so February was Adam Nelson. He was a great president. He was number 94, so we wrapped him up in February. So this is my first show coming up in May, and it's May 3rd through 5th. It's at Boyne Mountain Resort.
Hey, get that promo in.
Yeah, get the promo in.
I know you watch pro wrestling. Get the promo in.
Boyne Mountain Resort. Registrations are available. Go to jcimi.org. Hopefully you have the cool thing where we can put the logo in here. I wish I could tell you to click the link, but you know, it may be on YouTube. This may go out, right?
Yeah.
So click the link. Check it out. Boyne Conference. But really, the conference itself it's Friday night, all of Saturday. Like, you're busy from sun up to sundown on Saturday. And then Sunday we do a quick meeting and leave. So Friday you start out with opening ceremonies. We get to show people who all these 33 chapters are. You get to meet their presidents. We have like a quick opening show. And then this year we're doing something really fun where all the chapters get to run a table where they showcase their chapter and what they do. For all these other members from all over Michigan to meet them and say, what do you do in Redford? What kind of cool projects are you doing in Wyandotte? You know, you go up to Sheboygan, their projects are totally different than what you might find out in Allegan, right? So this is our night to meet everybody and showcase those chapters and have this like global feel. And a big thing for me is teamwork, and I always want our people to feel like a family. That's why we did the Wolf Pack.
Right.
So that's Friday night. Saturday, we kick off with our business meeting. We still gotta, you know, we gotta conduct business as an organization. So I'll run that business meeting in the morning. All of the board of directors for the state get to speak at that meeting and tell everybody a little bit about themselves. And then we have this awesome panel of trainings that take up the better part of Saturday morning until lunch. And you can just learn about just about anything. So we're going to have people coming from all over the place. And this conference specifically, a good friend of ours is Caitlin Crommett. She's from California, and she's in movies. She's an excellent keynote speaker. She has her own foundation, her own group that she manages. So we've asked her to come down, and she graciously said yes. So she's going to run a training workshop during the day to help get us to connect to people and maybe be able to bring more people into the organization. We'll have some JC trainers. I run a training as president to tell the 33 other chapter presidents, like, hey, here's how we do JC stuff. And then we're doing.
Whip them into shape.
You got to whip them into shape, right? Yeah. Right. You got to get them moving, right? And then we're doing something new called JCI Talks, where we're giving people 7 to 10 minutes to give me your best, most inspiring speech that you can give in 7 minutes. And those are kind of new this year, so that's something I wanted to start. So those will be there about 1 o'clock on Saturday. There's a lunch provided, so that's part of the package. And then you have a little bit of free time to yourself. And then we do an amazing dinner. So you get dressed up, wear a suit like I do. My color this year is blue, so wear blue if you can. And we recognize the chapters all over Michigan for what they've done up until May, since that's our first, first deal. So you get to recognize the best chapter in the state for the first trimester, the top civic leadership certification. It's kind of like our roadmap to success. The people that are following that roadmap the best, they'll get recognized. Competitors will get recognized for doing, all sorts of different skills competitions, resume competitions, and then we also recognize individual projects at each chapter. So there's a lot behind the scenes that goes into like making it awesome. And then Saturday night you party until 2 in the morning. Like I said, we're at that at Boyne. We're gonna have a DJ there. It's gonna be epic, man. It'll be really cool. And then the next day you do a fellowship breakfast where everybody comes back together. You get a good meal in your belly. And then our chaplain, Kristen Garska, she kind of runs like a training workshop there, kind of gives you some inspiring message to take home.
Okay, so it sounds like a jam-packed weekend. And now here's one thing I've noticed in our local chapter.
Yeah.
All right. And maybe I'm reading into it too much, but I don't think so. There's a lot of couples in our local chapter.
Okay.
You and Sara.
Yeah.
Sean and Liz, Jeremy and Stacy.
Yeah.
Well, Tom and Samantha. I mean, it goes on and on and on.
It really does.
So I guess the point I'm trying to make is, you go to conference, you might meet your spouse. I think that's a safe conclusion
Joel,
to draw, right?
You are good at this, so you can tell you've been doing this for a minute. But yeah, I met Sara in the Jaycees, and I met her at conference in 2005. We were both membership vice presidents together, and I was just like, wow, she's a fox, and she's way out of my league, and I'm going to go for it.
Yeah, so how did you approach Sara? How did you win her over?
So really, I was just like, okay, we do all these training seminars. Which one does she sign up for? I want to make sure I get in the same training seminar. And really, that's where it started. And, we both had it was a personality test, and we both had the same personality type or whatever. So we got some things to talk about. And
so that was like a chapter thing everybody did, or
it was everybody at the conference.
Oh, okay. At the conference.
So she was from Farmington area Jaycees, and I was from Wyandotte. But you can pick whatever training you want to go to. And I said, well, this personality test maybe it'll be cool.
You're like, well, I'm stalking this girl,
so I'm gonna go in, right? One. And then the rest was kind of history. It was like, what projects do you do in Farmington? What projects do you do in Wyandotte? Let's find ways to connect. And I got really lucky, Joel. I got really lucky. And
all right.
And we're married now.
Right, you're married. You got 2 kids. But
yeah,
what was the moment where you had to break the ice? Where you had to actually say, hey, do you want to go out sometime?
Man, it's not fit for TV.
No, come on.
It's not. It's really not.
Wow,
it's not.
It must really not be.
Yeah.
You're sweating.
It's the truth, Joel. I'll talk to you off camera. It was amazing. But yeah, I got really lucky.
It's like, sounds like it.
Yeah.
All right, so the Wolfpack theme.
Yes.
All right, tell me, where does that come from? Because the wolf's a very powerful symbol.
Yes.
Throughout history and in recent pop culture too.
Yeah.
You had the Wolfpack and wrestling circles.
NWO.
So where does it come from? What was the inspiration there?
There's multiple points of inspiration where I got it from, and I'll try to hit some of them. But the big one for me is family and teamwork. And when I was thinking of those 2 words, Wolfpack came to mind. It's like they watch out for each other, and they'll go to bat for each other too. It's like, man, I'll rip to shreds, a deer or whatever for you, and then we can eat, right? But it's like watching out for each other. The whole pack is important. So it's the elderly and the young, and it's everybody. And you mentioned the Jaycees are kind of from all walks of life, and that's so true. And I said all of us need to feel important, and that's where it was like, yeah, the Wolfpack is right. But there's also other places it came from, and one honestly is Zach Galifianakis' character in The Hangover. He made the Wolfpack of 4, and he started out as the Wolfpack of 1.
Okay.
And I kind of likened that to myself. I was like a Wolfpack of 1, then I met the Wyandotte Jaycees, and then JCI Michigan, and we all became a Wolfpack together, roaming around the streets of Michigan looking for members and good times, right? So that's kind of where it was born out of. And I used that for my membership vice president year last year, and said we want to keep that rolling for JCI Michigan this year, which is kind of unheard of. Usually your theme sticks for a year and then you do something new. And I said, no, we're keeping it.
Well, the wolf stuff's interesting, and Danny's she's signaling me on camera. So when I got heavily involved at the haunted house a few years back, Danny and I and a few others, we got really close, and then we formed the Kindred Committee, and we kind of referred to ourselves as a wolf pack. So recently, her and Jamie and I, we went and got matching tattoos. And I think she wants me to show. That's what she wants.
Yeah, you got it?
Yeah. Yeah.
see
It's
this
still healing a bit. Needs a few touch-ups, but I don't know how well you can get it there, Danny. Look, she wasn't even ready.
That's
Look
so
at that.
she's ready.
She's bugging me to get it on camera. She's over there doing. What are you guys doing? Yoga or something? They're doing yoga. Is what
Yeah,
they're
it's
doing.
like, really, man.
Yeah.
We're trying to shoot a serious show over here, guys.
This is, yeah.
And we got the, whatever, the mountain stream or whatever pose you're doing over
Yeah.
there.
They're getting loopy.
The tree, yeah.
So tell me through the years, you've been a long time JC.
Yes, sir.
You are coming up on aging out.
Yes,
so what does life after the JCs look like for you? I mean, because you've been a board member, you've been a very active member. You haven't been the type of member that's just like, I show up on occasion. I mean, we've jokingly, some of us say you're Mr. JC. So what's it look like once you're aged out?
Once you create a TV show, you know that you've done something right, right?
Yeah.
Like,
are you taking credit for that?
well, we did it together.
Okay,
but,
okay. I was
I'm the
going to say,
host,
whoa, geez,
whoa, right,
okay.
right. But if you chose to be the host of a show, right? Like, you got to be have a reason,
I did
right?
choose you. You were my first choice. That's true.
And I didn't say no, but that's really part of it. It's to take the opportunities that are there. When the opportunity is knocking against the door and you don't know where it'll take you. And that's what I did with the JCs over this last 14 years. So ever since Sam brought me to that meeting, they said, hey, we're running a project. We're looking for somebody to run it. And I said, you know what? I'll be your Huckleberry. And I learned a lot from running, that project.
Now, you used a better line than that on Sara, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. There's going to be like an outtake somewhere where I'll tell you what happened. You'll decide if it's fit for TV, right? But it's really about answering the door when opportunity knocks. And that's what I did for 14 years. I'm two-time president of Wyandotte, twice membership VP. Membership is kind of my thing. I want to see us growing. So that's been a recurrent theme through my entire career as a JC. And then I said, how do I take that to the next level? Got involved, I've been on the state board multiple times, but really a local guy, 10 to 12 years of being on the board of directors locally.
Right.
So, and then said, hey, we want to make this run for president, and what steps should I take to do that? And I said, well, I need to be membership VP for the state because that's who I am inside, and we need to grow. And I made that my benchmark in my head for success. Like, if you're going to be the membership VP and you don't grow, I feel like you missed some mark,
Right.
And we did.
So, I mean, I imagine you see yourself still being involved once you've aged out.
Yeah, you kind of asked a question that I didn't answer very well. So after I age out, I'll be involved. I was nominated and chosen to be a senator.
Oh, you've already got that in the bag then.
Yeah,
okay.
so there's a way to keep going. And senators are people the chapter says, hey, you've been an awesome support.
Right.
We want you to be a mentor person to us for as long as you want to be. So I'm one of those. 74042 is my number. We number our senators. So. Well,
I know, further to that point, I don't know if it's picked up and gone anywhere, but I know at different times there's been talk of having, I forget the term we've used, basically allowing people who have aged out to be members in a capacity, non-voting members, right?
You got it. It's called the associate membership.
Right.
And a lot of chapters have them. Wyandotte has the associate membership, and that's probably somewhere I'll head. But probably get in there and say, hey guys, I really want the associate members to be more involved.
Right.
And take it to another place for that. But honestly, it'll probably be time to look at another community club too. So yeah, I'll be involved with the Wyandotte Jaycees for the rest of my life. But maybe Kiwanis, maybe Rotary. There's been a couple of different Kiwanis people that have approached me and said, Steve, we'd love to have you come over and you can be in Kiwanis for the rest of your life. Like, we're not going to kick you out.
They're trying to poach you.
Yeah, so they're trying to get me, and I told them, you know what? I just ignored them like I ignored the other people that tried to get me in the Wyandotte Jaycees, right? But they'll keep working it, and we'll see what happens, right?
All right, so I'm going to end on this note. In particular, I feel where the associate program can be useful, it's near and dear to my heart, is the haunted house, of course.
Yes, sir.
And I mean, we have a few people who are aged out by just a couple of years.
Just a couple.
And they're great at the haunted house. So I guess my final question to you is, you chaired the haunted house project on 2 different occasions? 06 and 14, I think, roughly. Or
did I chair 24? No, 2005 I chaired the haunted house, the Fortress of Fear.
Okay.
It was unfortunately it was awesome. One of the best ever haunted houses, designated by the Fright Cup, which was similar to this award we got here in the middle, but for haunted houses. And in 2014 I was president.
Right. Okay, that's right.
I was president that year, and that was Phobia.
Right.
And that was Brian Goodwin and Rachel Goodwin. Their first go at a big project, and that was our haunted house.
All right, so my question is, in your time running the haunted house, give me one memory that stands out to you.
There's a ton, but one that jumps right out to me is there was a time we have to cut through brick walls a lot as part of our thing. It's like, oh, you need an emergency exit. Well, there isn't one, so why don't you just cut out the brick wall right there? But the city's always like, hey, you probably should do that really carefully. You should probably have an architect draw up the thing.
Let me get my diamond-encrusted laser.
Right.
To cut a hole in this brick
the volunteer
wall.
Group will just figure out how to become architects. And so we did. We figured out how to do it, but our members kind of got to cut out the wall and build some of it. And Kurt Toll, a longtime haunted house guy, when the documentary comes out, he's on it, so you'll see him. He's mudding up the wall because he's a construction guy. And Alan Joseph, our president from 2005, was walking by, and he just grabbed a whole bunch of wet cement and just threw it at the back of his head, and it just splattered across the back of his head. And it was just like, I can't believe you did that. And Kurt is one of those dudes, like, he's going to just do what he wants, right? So, and we all wound up having a laugh about it, but I was terrified for a minute that was going to turn into like a fight,
So see, and there's a great example of everything the haunted house project includes. I tell them to pick out the best story from haunted house. It's not even from a night of operation.
No, it was
customers.
Build.
It's during build. Someone getting plastered in the back of the head with wet cement.
Yeah.
Well, and you mentioned briefly, and I guess I'll give it a plug. You may have heard Steve just mention the documentary.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about,
see?
so I'm going to tell him. 3 years ago, when I got involved at SIN, I began doing a documentary, and I've worked on it on and off, and now Danny and others make jokes. There was a joke at our committee meeting yesterday, like, what's it been, 3 years now? But it'll be out this year, so it's a documentary in particular on SIN Haunted House, but also a wider scope, kind of the Wyandotte Jaycees Haunted House as a whole. I'm very proud of it. It is, I would say, 85% complete. It needs some finishing touches, and when it's done, my hope is to turn that into a fundraiser, to premiere it at a theater, preferably the Redford Theater. If you folks in Redford are listening, I think it'd make for an excellent fundraiser, a great experience for everyone involved with the haunted house and our whole chapter, and I would hope some surrounding chapters would come too. For me as a haunter, there's not a lot of documentaries about haunted houses. There's a couple, but the haunted house community is like a tight-knit community. And,
they are.
It's something that everyone goes to them, but it's still not really something that's like mainstream. It takes a certain breed to be a haunter. So
it really does.
That. You talked about that in the documentary.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, Steve, I appreciate you sitting down for this interview.
Fantastic.
Go ahead and plug the conference one more time.
So, Boyne Conference, May 3rd through 5th, 2019. It's coming up. Go to www.jcimi.org. On there, you'll find the events tab, and our conference is on there, so you can see all the details on there. But it's going to be a good time. Everybody's welcome to come and click that and come out to it. I really want to see everybody there. It's going to be a lot of fun. And conference is, when you join your chapter, that's where you learn what your chapter does. You come to one of these conferences, you learn what the state's all about, what JCI Michigan's about, what JCI USA is about. And you really get to connect that to, wow, I'm part of changing the world. So that's why you should come.
Well, you know what? One thing that I often think about in our organization, one of my favorite senators likes to say, change starts from the bottom up, not from the top down. And I think that's what the Jaycees and organizations like it are all about. And that's one of the reasons, other than Haunted House, that's one of the big reasons I got involved. So.
Awesome.
But good luck in your year as president.
Thank you,
and
sir.
You guys get out to conference, all that great stuff Steve mentioned. Plus, you might meet your future spouse, or at least have a good story to tell, right?
Yeah.
You've mentioned a party till 2 a.m.
That's right.
So there you go. All right, I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Check out all the other episodes of Jaycees TV and watch for future web exclusive of Jaycees TV. You might see Steve, you might see myself. Maybe I'll throw Danny, who's having herself a ball over there. I'm going to throw her in the hot seat. She could host one of these.
Yes.
And now Megan's doing some sort of tree post. That's for the Karate Kid now. I think we all need drinks, so they've been drinking or something. So maybe you guys should go get a drink now and tune in next time in Jaycees TV.
I love it.